Hello, this is Gabe Cymbalista with Cymbalistic Cynicism on the Indie Escape Network. Tonight we're having on the guests, the cast and crew of a Savannah Haunting. Here is Alexis Nelson, Dean West, Gena Shaw, William Mark McCullough, and Brittney Level. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Hold on, Dean. I'm unmuting.
Doing well.
There you are. Okay, so please tell us a little bit about the film. But I'm gonna go around. Actually, Alexis, you're the producer, right? You so please give us a little bit of a background. Well, you and Mark, but because I know you guys really brought this together. Mark is the director. You're the producer. I guess Mark also you also produced it.
Yeah, so I directed and wrote the script, and Alexis produced. She did the heavy lifting on the producing. I helped her out a little bit with that. So, but it was really a joint effort from the very beginning. I lived in the haunted house. My family lived in the house, and Alexis visited, and it was really at her suggestion that I wrote the script because she had some pretty. She can tell you about it, but she had some pretty scary experiences in the house, and. But basically, as someone who endured what a real haunting is like and having a family that endured that, we set out from the very beginning to make a movie that kind of replicated what it feels like to be in a haunted house. And generally speaking, monsters aren't crawling out of the walls, right? Blood's not pouring out of the spigots. It's just this creeping dread that feels almost like the walls of the house are closing in around you day by day. So this movie is about a family that suffers a terrible tragedy at their original home in California, and they moved to Savannah to start afresh. And they lost one of their children, and so they're trying to start a new life. And some pretty creepy things start happening, and it leads the mother to start believing she's being haunted by her dead child. And there's some folks in the film that Brittney plays a character who realizes to some extent what's going on in the house, and she tries to warn the family about what's going on and tries to stop the bad that's coming. So that's it. But it's just this. We kind of describe it as a supernatural drama because it really is. It's a story of a family, and especially a mom dealing with the ravages of guilt and loss and pain. And then the supernatural elements kind of taking advantage of that.
Yeah. Okay. Alexis, can you give us a little bit more input?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a story. I used to visit Mark when he moved to Georgia. We were both here in Los Angeles. And I was staying in the house, and really odd, scary things happened to me in the middle of the night. And we go into more detail. We actually have a full feature-length documentary about this, so that's going to be coming out a little bit after. And that one we go into detail. We interview people who have lived in the house, historians. We bring in a ghost hunter, experts, mediums. The whole team comes and really explores more about the house. But this is something, there's a history here. This house is really one of the main characters of the film as well. Thank God we have some of our amazing cast here tonight, but the house is one of them. That is a big part of this film. So I would visit Mark and I said, there's something wrong with this house. One night his dad found me sleeping on the couch by myself, and he's like, well, what are you doing down here, honey? Like, why are you down here instead of in your room? And I was like, it's haunted up there. And he's like, oh yeah, I know, but it's okay. It was frightening. It was like the scariest night of my life. So, how us insane filmmakers are. Something's terrifying, and so let's make a movie about it. Like let's shoot there, right? So that's what we did, and then we were able to pull together this amazing cast who's here with us today, and many other people, extremely talented cast and crew, and together we pulled it off as one of the first films back during COVID.
Yeah. It's just a quick thing. This is my network head. Just thanking us for everybody for coming tonight. Also, by the way, I'm sorry the house couldn't join us. That would have been cool. Maybe Mark, maybe we'll do a follow-up afterwards, and you'll do this from the house because I know you're in the LA area. So maybe you'll do this from the house. Maybe you could give us a little bit of tour
Well, I
on
gotta say, the last
live.
time I was doing an interview in my house through Zoom, the doors wouldn't stop opening and closing around the house.
Oh, that would be that. See, that sounds fun. That sounds fun.
Well, for you.
Yeah, yeah. No, I hear that. I hear that.
Yeah.
As much as I love horror, I couldn't live like that.
Mhm.
Okay, so Alexis, you are more behind the scenes, but Mark, though you've also directed and wrote the film, you starred in it. But I want to go
No,
around.
I don't star in it.
You
I have
don't
a
star,
small,
but you have a
I have
star.
a small part in it. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
He
These
is a
other
star.
guys don't.
He is a star.
Well, I hear I like his modesty though. So let's, you know what? So let's Brittney, we'll start with you and we'll come around back to Dean regarding the cast members.
Okay. Well, my name is Brittney Level. I play Vanessa, who is James's medium wife, and James is Dean's character's coworker. They invite us over for dinner, and I start telling them a little bit about my history and how my mother and my grandmother, vocalized or sometimes materialized certain things in the spiritual realm to 3D to where I could see it, and they start asking questions, and I go into, a little further, a little deeper of what that means from my culture so that they can understand a little bit better. And some weird, freaky things start to happen at the dinner table. I get premonitions and, things of that sort. And I try to, like Mark said, just to reiterate, I try to warn this family. And I guess you would have to watch the movie to see whether or not they listen.
I do have a quick follow-up question. Are any of your relatives your character's relatives characters in the movie? I mean, no, are any of your characters relatives characters as well in the movie? Like your family, like you said, your family members, the medium gift.
Yes. I believe her name is Joseph. The character's name is Joseph. So, Josephine.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. She's my grandmother. Correct me. Yes. So
okay,
it's a cultural thing, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, the way that I took the character, I was like, oh, this must be just, a female type of situation because we don't mention too much, and just for the simple fact that Dean's character is not so much as not intrigued, but not as in it as his wife is. And it just, to me, that was kind of like a female bond that me and his character, his wife, the character had, because there was like this big female intuition thing, and what's happened in life, I can consult her through a spiritual, more defined way of what's going on with her character.
I also think that's a common element in horror films with hauntings, like the husband's the skeptical one, while the wife or the mother is usually more likely to believe in that type of stuff. But I think that's also a human trait in general.
I mean, especially putting the mother element into it. We already have this tuition about our children regardless. I mean, I know when my child is sick, I've been able, which is crazy. I'd be like, something's wrong. And I'll get a phone call 2 seconds later from the school or from somebody. And it's like, okay, this is what happened. Like, just able to feel that. So yeah, I thought that was really cool for them to write into the script. I was really excited. This is my first horror film. So.
And it's interesting, the actual house too that we shot in does tend to target women more, which we interview people in the documentary about that.
You should have been me. I kept saying, I was saying to Moses when we were up in the room, I was like, it's stuffy in here. Like, it's stuffy. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, I don't know how else to put it. And I didn't know until Dean was like, you do know that this is really the house. I was like, don't say that. No. Yeah.
So it really gives an authenticity to it. There's a lot of authenticity going around in this just about regarding the house and like
I mean, the house really, we wanted to set out the house as a character in the movie. And there are specific shots that we do in the film to kind of give the audience a sensation that the house itself is watching the characters,
giving it an identity.
Yeah, like a point of view, because the house is so distinct. And when you walk into the house, anyone, like there's definitely a sense of somethingness there. You know what I mean? That's not just a collection of boards and marble or whatever. That there's something there. So we tried to capture that a little bit with our camera work.
Nice.
So I might have to go in a little bit.
Oh yeah, sure.
I just want to know if anybody remembers. We were in the middle of filming, me and Moses, who plays James' scene, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a swarm of buzzers just start flying around the house. Do you remember that? Does anybody remember that?
No.
The scene where I come in and I'm like being crazy, and my character, like my husband's character, is like, no, like, calm down. He's like, I'm so sorry about that. It'll never happen again. And no, I was like, look at the sky. Hello. Does anybody else see this? I don't know. I think Dean might have been like getting mic'd up, but I don't know where, like Mark, or there were other people. Like if you asked sound or anybody that was like actually outside, it was for a while, people were just like, what is happening? I was like, that's odd.
It's funny, that was going to be one of my questions, but I'm going to ask it later on because you already answered it. I was going to say, were there any hauntings that you guys, not just that you guys experienced, but anything that might have made the final cut? Or is that not, that can't be revealed yet? But you could say, you can say, or yes, and you can say, but any examples? But that would be amazing if some of those official authentic hauntings made the film. I'm just saying.
I said nobody had the camera, like we had was in between like takes and we were switching, and I was like, that actually would have been really cool to get on film. And they were like, yeah, when you talk to Moses, ask him, he saw it. I'm not nuts.
We think you're crazy, Brittney.
No, we've had a lot of things. We can't say much right now, but there's definitely we had some behind the scenes cameras going through this process, just to, normal behind the scenes cameras that you would have. And then we wanted to, document anything extra or special that took place. So you might see something.
I would also say very strategically that I think Mark did on purpose, though he probably won't say it out loud. Our green room was literally the most haunted room in the whole freaking house that we were in, where we were in wardrobe, where Jen and I would hide in the closet while running lines. I think it was a little strategic, but
I got to tell you, Dean, that was literally a logistical situation. That was not
totally.
That's all.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't pasta, Mark.
No.
So I just want to cut in for a second because I know Brittney, and I know both Gena and Brittney both have to leave early, but I know Brittney, you said you have to leave real soon. So quickly, I don't know how much, if you have like a minute, can you Can you quickly give any social media that people can follow you on, or updates on the film, or just your, if you have any pages that you want people to follow?
Sure. On Instagram, it's THE Brittney Level. Facebook is Brittney Level. TikTok, it's all the same name. You can't misread it. That's it. There's only one. It's weird.
You can't miss it on any level.
Yeah. So none of that's taken. It's all Brittney Level. Yeah, and if you guys haven't watched the series of The First Lady yet, check that out. Might see somebody now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Brittney, if you have to go, it was a pleasure having you on. Looking forward to seeing the film. What was that? Sorry.
Like, me too. I haven't been able to see it yet. I've literally just watched the trailers, and I've shown my friends and family, and a few people were like, I'm not going to see it, girl. Like that looks too real. And I was like, well, the house that we were in was haunted.
That helps.
Then I had somebody do a cleanse for me. I got it back.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have some friends like that who wouldn't watch a horror film, even if I, yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much.
Of course, Brittney. It was a pleasure having you on, and we'll hopefully after the movie comes out, we'll do a follow up. I'd love to have you guys back, and maybe hopefully more of the crew if possible, and cast and crew if possible.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, take care, Brittney. Pleasure having you on. Be well.
Bye, darling.
Okay. So let me go to Gena, because I know you also have to leave a little early. So tell us a little bit about, or a lot about, whatever you want to say about your character in the film.
I'm Gena Shaw. I play Rachel Rancourt, the haunted mama. I don't usually sound like this. I have a horrible cold right now. And I'm so congested. So apologies for that. But I play the haunted mama. And I have to, Mark's house is so haunted. It is so, I mean, Mark, I've told you this before. His house is the real deal. There is so much going on in that place. So shooting there was kind of like you just like so many actors say like, oh, I put on my wardrobe and I'm right in character. You walk into that house and you are in character, because that house it's the real deal. So being in that place, and it took no time to get into character and to just kind of jump in to the whole, just being scared of everything around you. It didn't matter that there was a whole cast and crew. It's like the second that it was just quiet and you turn for a second or you sit down or you go over, you're just like, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. It was the first time I've ever experienced something like that. And it was, I mean, I loved it because I love horror and I love all that. But yeah, it was a very interesting and awesome experience as a believer in the paranormal and a lover of horror and an actor. It was awesome.
That's amazing. And what I love about it, the reactions, the acting, it just adds to the authenticity. Like, I know keep on using the word authenticity, but there's not a better word to use. Like how, like some of the scares, some of the reactions, some of the, like, just probably more authentic than your typical horror movie. Like, people have to force or like act, but I'm sure there were some legitimate reactions as a person that was added to your character's role.
Yeah, I'm
sure. But so you're the mother. So yeah, tell us. I believe you and Dean play husband and wife.
Yeah.
And yeah. I read, and I'm gonna bring up the trailer soon because I want to show like you know what? Before we go on, can I bring up the trailer?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on one moment. Everybody who's watching, I am bringing up the trailer now. 1, 2, 3.
Mama! Help me!
Okay.
Yeah.
Rachel, what brings you to Savannah?
We were looking for a fresh start. We had twins, Andrew and Alice. Everything changed after she died.
Once we get a little work done, it will be perfect.
I have a really good feeling about this move.
Why is there a cemetery in the woods in the back of my house?
There used to be an old plantation near here. This is where they buried the family members and the slaves.
I keep hearing things, seeing things.
You made her angry, Mommy.
Who, baby?
You know who.
I think I'm being haunted by Alice.
I heard stories about this piece of land when I was a little girl.
What are you talking about?
There are breaches in the walls of hell. One of them lies beneath this house.
She didn't come back home.
Fallen ones aren't meant for this world. They'll change you unless you get out while you still can.
off lately?
She's just tired. What are you doing?
I wanted to make sure Andrew was all right.
Why do you have a knife? I'm really worried about Rachel.
Rachel hasn't coped very well with the death of Alice.
Hush, little baby, don't you cry. We'll love each other until we die.
I'm scared.
Where are the kids?
But they're friends.
Mom!
Why are you in my house?
Oh my God. Your friends are so nice.
Wow. Yeah, that never doesn't like I could rewatch that trailer over and over again because like it just yeah. How much to charge? Yeah, my friend CG wants to know, Mark, how much do you charge Ghost for rent?
I need to charge a lot more because after these interviews, I'm never going to get another date. So I need to at least make some money off of this.
Well, I will say, you got to make another movie. And actually, my friend CJ pitched an idea: Paranormal Activity, Rent Control. CJ, you got to stop throwing these great ideas out to the public. You know, you got to do it in private. And
you were mentioning the authenticity of the acting.
Mm-hmm.
All these guys that are on here tonight have been nominated and won tons of acting awards, which is almost unheard of for horror films. Brittney won awards, Gena, Dean, like some other cast. And one of the things that I'm most proud of as a director, and I don't get to take any credit for it, but I'm still proud of it, is I watch their performances and they're so damn good. There's a scene with Gena. I mean, there's lots of scenes where they're great, but there's just one scene where she describes what happens to her little girl and literally brings me to tears every single time I've seen it. I've seen the scene 10,000 times. It is just so good and real. And yeah, the movie, you know, Alexis is an expert at producing, an expert at visual effects, and Emmy nominated. You know, we got all these amazing technical people, but they wouldn't do nothing at all without our actors bringing those characters to life. And everyone, even the folks who aren't here tonight, they all just did such a phenomenal job of taking words on a page and turning those into living, breathing characters that we care about and that we literally see them emotionally just get pulled apart. And so for me, it's like, I love good horror films, and that's all good and dandy, but watching their performances, it's just a family being ripped apart because of the loss of a child. It was just, it's really powerful stuff. That if this was just a drama, I think it'd be a solid film based on just their performances.
You know, I have a friend who lost her son to suicide, 13-year-old. He was being bullied. So, and I have friends who've died at a very young age. So these stories, like, I don't know if you said Hereditary, that hit me on a personal level. That hit me like, I also dealt with suicide when I was younger. So Hereditary terrified me on a real life horror level before it terrified me in the horror cinema element. So I had to actually turn that off and wait a few days I had to watch in moderation. So yeah, and that's what, like you said, that's what gives it authenticity, not just for the horror element, but the drama. And that's great. So yeah, I actually brought up a bunch of the awards, the images. Can I bring bring a little slideshow I can bring up? And if there's any one of them you want to elaborate on, please. So this was for Aurelio Vera for the best visual effects, and this is for Thrills and Chills Film Award. Then there was Tommy Rose, best supporting actress, at also same film festival. Then there was Dean West, Thrills and Chills best actor. Then there was best thriller of that film festival. Then there was Best Feature Film, Seattle Film Festival. Best U.S. Narrative Feature, New York Independent Cinema Awards. Best Horror, New York New York Independent Cinema Awards. Then there was Best Feature Film, a Horror Movie Freaks Film Festival. And here's Brittney. I'm sorry we didn't bring up, but she's still here. Best Actress. Winner, Atlanta Horror Film Festival. As the San Diego Movie Awards, Award of Prestige, Best Woman Filmmaker to Alexis. Award of Best Director from William Mark McCullough. Best Feature Horror, William. Hold on a second. Award of Merit, Best Original Music, Thomas Avery. Grand Jury Awards, Best First Time Filmmaker, Mark. Wes Craven Spotlight at the Catalina Film Festival. Best Director, Mark. Best Cinematography, Paul Marshall. And then, this one, I just accidentally brought that one in. But, because we already established it was based on true events. Best Horror Film at the Golden Gate International Film Festival. Outstanding Female Winner of Outstanding Female Performance, Buffalo Dreams Fantastic Film Festival. That's Gena. And then, this is just a list of nominations. Official selection, Unrestricted View Horror Film Festival. Nominations for Best Foreign Feature, Best Actor, Best Actress. Winner Best Feature Film, the Savannah LGBTQ Los Angeles Film Festival.
We're really excited about that one, if you said to mention, because that was Best Feature Film. This is not a
feature
horror
film
festival.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
right.
Like to have a horror film that wins. Like we were really honored, to have that.
Yeah. That's just a great thing to see. Like seeing putting let's say you have a specific, obviously there's horror specific film festivals, but then there's just broad, but horror is unfortunately very not given the recognition it deserves, as in the cinema world. The Academy Awards, the Emmys, and it's great. That's why it's one of the many reasons that must be more cathartic for you guys. Mm-hmm. That it, or just gives you a better thrill. Or
we got, I don't know that it'll be on your slide, but the Savannah Film Festival is a pretty prestigious festival that's been in existence for over 20 years. And our film is the very first movie ever produced locally in Savannah to get into the Savannah Film Festival. And, so that was one of the things for me, is being someone born and raised in Savannah. I was so proud of that, because they don't normally take horror films into their slate of films. There's kind of a drama heavy run. And so the fact that we did really well in festivals that weren't horror, I mean, obviously you saw we won a bunch of horror stuff too, but we also did really well in festivals that were just looking for good movies. So,
like you said, the performances must have been phenomenal.
Yep.
So I just want to go back to talking about your characters. Since we just did Gena and you're the wife, you play the mother and the wife. Dean, let's go to you.
Sure. Dean West, and I was playing Eric Rancourt. Eric's honestly just a really good human, taking care of his family, doing everything he can to keep them happy, take care of his wife. We moved to try to get to a better place, and that obviously doesn't go the way it was planned. This wonderful new house that we got out of steel steals a lot back. Mark is my tormentor in this film, and puts me through some wonderful stuff both on screen and off. I will say Mark says it was a lot of us just on our acting, but a director obviously makes a huge difference in a film, and there's this happy medium between a director that is trying to push you into doing something versus guide you into doing something. And most of the time, really good actors like to do their work and get guided into places, get nudged into things to help us find that happy medium, that brilliant Mark, right? And that's what Mark did for us. It was the guide and the nudge. It was not the I need it done this way. Those are the directors I just go, great, sure, yeah, we'll do that. I'm just out. Why am I here? Why didn't you just get a robot to play this part instead of me? That would have been much easier. So while he was nice and humble towards us, he steered a really good ship. So I like to say that too.
Thank you.
Gory Bits says as if you needed to sell me more on this movie. But Dean, so is there any little, at least minute details that you can tell us about your character without revealing too much beyond what we already know?
Honestly, the really cool thing about Eric is that, I say the cool thing, I don't see much. I don't see much of this crazy going on. I'm not keen to these things that are happening to her. I'm aware that she's obviously going through some things, but we moved because she was already going through some things. So as her emotional state changes, I don't see it as a house issue or a haunting issue or anything else. I just see it as a personal issue. That we're just there to try to help and do what we can, and again, we just moved to try to make this better. So for me, I don't see any of this stuff going on, and until it sees me.
You're just trying to be the form of stability.
Yeah.
And
let me share two things regarding Dean. All the actors were amazing, but I told Dean this. Like, I literally, every scene, I could randomly pick a take of Dean. Every single, I've told that story to so many like producers and filmmakers that it's amazing to me. Like, every take of every scene you're in, I can just pick one and go, yeah, that was fine. And that's pretty phenomenal. And I remember I texted you after I'd seen the movie 10,000 times, working on the edit, watching your scenes over and over. I remember I texted you one day and I said, Dean, if I ever walk into a callback and you're sitting there ready to read for the same role as me, I'm just walking out. Because I was so impressed by what you did in the film, because in many ways you have one of the hardest roles, because you don't have the juicy, scary things happening all around you during most of the movie. And you just deliver, I thought, this wonderfully solid, grounded, loving, and maybe not as perceptive father and husband as you could have been, but there's this likability factor that you bring and an authenticity. But yeah, I mean, it just amazed me when we were working on the edit of the film. Like, it was just the absolute most consistent delivery of great acting from take to take to take to take I've ever seen.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And Dean, you don't know this, but your character almost did something really bad. And we talked back and forth about it. And we decided it just didn't work for the film. And, once everyone sees it, they'll know exactly the scene we're talking about, probably.
I already know.
Yes.
Was this an exclusive that you just dropped, and at least on Dean?
It definitely was. He didn't know this.
Yeah.
But your character, like, we had Mark and I had some back and forth about it, and we almost, you almost did something bad, and we decided it just didn't work. Like, that's not who Eric is. Like, he's not a bad guy. He's always the rock, the stable one through this whole film.
I agree. I'm glad you went that route.
Yeah.
So Mark, tell us about your character, minute or not. I still want to hear about.
Sure. I'm a neighbor who is, he kind of represents some of the darker, bad aspects. I mean, one of the things we deal with this movie is kind of the history of slavery and race relations in the South, generally in Savannah specifically. And the character I play in many ways represents the dark, evil side of those interactions, right? And we really want to put a situation where the mom, Rachel, on several occasions is in a situation where she needs something, and my character happens to show up to help her out. But in many ways, she finds him reprehensible because of some of the things he says and the way he moves through the world. But it's like, we really want to put that challenge to her as someone who, what she was willing to like deal with and accept to kind of get what she needed. So it was really one of the main points of my character was to put that challenge to her as she's moving through the story. Because like I said, she calls him out on the things that he says and does. But she still doesn't kick him out of her life because she needs something from him. But yeah, that's really, kind of we wanted someone who brought the face of the ugly past of slavery and racism because the Rancourt family don't represent that, and James and Vanessa, Brittney plays Vanessa, and the grandmother Josephine, they obviously don't. They're there to they're doing everything in their power to save this family. So we had to have that. We had to have someone to represent the evils of the past that are in literal ways coming back to haunt the family.
So you're a guide as a director in a good way, and a guide as a character in a sort of conflicting, controversial way, I guess.
Well, here's the thing: as an actor,
for Gena's character,
I play a lot of bad people. But what I learned a long time ago is, you need the story of Hans Gruber to tell the story of John McClane, right? You need the story of Judas to tell the story of Jesus. You must have the villain for the hero to battle and overcome, right? So one of the things I do as an actor who primarily plays a lot of villains, I'm just an assistant storyteller, right? Now, I play a small part in the movie, but I think an important part. But it's there to, we need to give these good guys more things to battle, because if they can succeed and overcome those bad things, it makes their journey more fulfilling to watch.
The arc.
Mm-hmm.
The story arc, yeah. I actually got a question from my friend CJ. Mark, when do you decide to shoot the harm element of your film, in the beginning or the end? I believe we sort of know, but I'm not. I
don't understand the question.
I guess, he asked, when did you implement the horror element of your film, in the beginning or the end?
Oh, as far as actual story structure.
Yes.
Yeah. Really, the horror. Again, it's not it's not horror in the sense that it's in your face, right? It's subtle, but I would say the opening moments of the film, it starts right there. Like the slight subtle hints of horror are from the very beginning, and they're all through it. I think there's one of the things we did with the last cut of the film was put back in a few things that allowed the story to breathe, because one of the edits the edit we were kind of doing the film festival with was pretty intense. There was no breathing moments, so we put a little of those back in, because even though we didn't have blood coming out of the walls, a lot of the scenes are pretty creepy. So yeah, I think to have an effective horror film, there's to be some element of horror throughout it, and that element is whatever works for your film. Like, you mentioned Hereditary. I love that movie, and in many ways, it is not, it's not in your face. And there's some few moments, but it's just kind of under the surface, just getting on your skin. Or one of my favorite horror films of all time is called Lake Mungo, and that movie, I remember months later waking up in the middle of the night and it was just inside me. It was so creepy, but there's no real jump scare. It's just, you watch it, it's like watching a 60-minute special, but it was so effective. So, those were two movies that I know that, we didn't copy them certainly, but they certainly were kind of spiritual ancestors, and they played into our thought processes when we were making this movie.
Gena, you reacted when he said Lake Mungo.
I love that movie.
It's funny, because Hereditary is one of those films that I can admit is a masterpiece, but I can never watch it again, because it's too.
Yes.
It's like when the trailer says it best. You will see things you can't unsee, and it's like Requiem for a Dream. It's such a depressing story, but it's still a masterpiece. But it's not your feel-good movie that you constantly go back to every time you want to, But you'll admit it's a freaking masterpiece. Like Green Mile. Yes, it's 3 hours long. It's a freaking masterpiece, but it's like, regardless of the length, it's heartbreaking. As beautiful a film as it is, it's heartbreaking. So yeah. So that's what makes a film great. It's not necessarily one you could watch again and again.
Right.
It's one that sticks with you, that you could appreciate, even if you can't watch it or refuse to watch it a second time. So yeah. Now I just want to bring up, Gena, you I know you. I know we're so close. We're getting closer to an hour, and I know I don't want to. I feel bad because I know you want to leave a little earlier. Before I get to tell us a little bit about some of the other projects you've done over the years. I know you haven't. No, you don't want to do it,
Oh,
or
no, I was like, what have I done? I've done a few things, yeah.
still, and any or even either funny stories from other projects, or even funny behind the scenes stories from, because you didn't really contribute any, I guess, from a Savannah Haunting. If you have any behind the scenes stories from that or any other films,
What can I tell, guys?
These are one of my favorite.
spoiler free. Sorry.
Yeah,
Spoiler free.
I know. Well, I mean, I've worked on a couple of things recently, or at least in the past few years. I guess I got a lot of attention for Cobra Kai when I did an episode of that, which I was like, whoa, people were coming out of the woodwork. I was like, yeah, hi, yeah, I did that. That was fun. It was fun to get that type of attention. I'm such a huge fan of horror and sci-fi. I've done a couple of horror films, and I still want to do my big sci-fi and space film one day. But for me, getting to do a horror film and being like one of the leads in it was like, check that off my list of like, you know, my bucket list of acting jobs, because I love horror movies. So this was a pretty big deal for me as an actor and like as a horror lover. So you know, I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, I have a couple things coming up, but I'm like, nah, I want to promote this because Halloween's coming up, which is the greatest holiday on the planet, and everyone needs to go and see like a good new horror movie. So they should go see Savannah Haunting. But I have to say, like, one story that I know. I mean, I know I've told you this, Mark and Alexa. I mean, I've told everybody. But when so Dean said before, he was like, yeah, we were in the most haunted room in the house, and there was like this closet in that room that we would like change it like out of our wardrobe, and it was just like we all hung out in the closet and would like squish in the closet and just like hang out in between takes. And one day, there was no one upstairs. Everyone was shooting downstairs. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to go sit upstairs. I'm just going to chill. I closed the door to that room, leaned against the door because there were like these two steps. And I'm leaning against, and I think I was done with like the majority of my spooky stuff. So I was just chill, leaning against that door. And I hear boom, like someone 3 times, boom, boom, boom. And I could feel the door hitting into my back, like someone was hitting it with enough force. So I said, I'm in here, but I'm not naked. And I turn around, I open the door, no one's there. And I was like, damn it. Damn it. Okay. So I close it. It happened again. And then I was like, okay, that's it. And I went out looking for people, and I finally found people. I said, who was in there? No one was in there. And that was one of many things that happened. But it was undeniable. And there were so many things that I would like go into that house and say, listen, Mark hired me to be here to do this. I mean no disrespect. I was like, please don't scare me to the point where I can't do my job. And I did that every day. I don't know that I told you that, Mark, but every day I walked into your house and I'd go, I was asked to be here by Mark. You know him. And I think it actually helped. But there were at least 3 or 4 occasions while shooting the film where something like that would happen. And there's just no explanation, or you'd see weird things and you're like, I'm just going to ignore it because I got a job to do. I'm just going to ignore it. So I've never had an experience like that on any set. And usually you're not shooting at a haunted location, but there's other places that you go, you're like, oh, this is such a cool place. Like, what a great location to shoot at. And, you know, sometimes you're like, oh, I bet some weird stuff went down here.
You can curse. I have Tourette's. Please curse all you want.
Yeah, my cats are fighting. So, yeah, there was some weird shit that went down in Mark's house. And I think it probably helped a little bit. I was like, no, they're really like, you bring it in, you use it in your performance. But also I was like, I don't want it to scare me to the point where I can't do my job. So it was like this weird, I had to negotiate with the ghosts.
So you basically dropped a disclaimer at the beginning of every day for the ghosts.
Yes,
I love that.
I did, because I did it as a just in case. And then as I started experiencing things at the house, I was like, oh, I need to keep doing this. We're here for how many more days?
That's great.
So, yeah. But I mean, it was I'm very excited. I love horror, and to be a part of it and hopefully scare the piss out of everybody. Oh, that just makes me all tingly. Like my dad came to a screening. We went to one of the festivals, and my dad goes, I'm very uncomfortable. And I was like, why? He goes, because I haven't had a moment to breathe. He said it was so intense that he was just like, I don't usually watch stuff like that. I didn't have a moment to breathe. He said it was so intense. He was like, geez. And I was like, we're on to something.
Success. Yeah.
Yes. I'm like, now I just got to get someone to pee themselves.
Well, you can also do that for making them laugh.
Funny? We have someone who thinks that's very funny who just woke up. Is that funny? Yeah.
You're in luck. You got to hear that.
Yeah. Dakota.
So I'm actually going to be in LA in October, from October 18th to November 2nd. I'll be in touch with you guys, because you, Alexis and Marcus, I'd love to try to catch a screening there if you have any.
Yes.
Yeah. So Gena, I don't want to hold you up too much longer. Is there any social medias people could follow? Any websites that you want people that you are right? Like even a public page, like because I know you have one on Facebook, like a fan page.
I know. I'm terrible with social media, but I really am going to try to get better. So with that in mind, I am Gena Shaw is my Instagram handle, and my name is Gena, Gena.
I'm laughing because when we finally finished this film, it took the whole film for me to convince her to change her name from G-Bird. I'm like, no one knows who the hell that is. No one can Google you. Like, we can't find G-Bird on Instagram. Put your name on there so we know who the hell you are.
I don't know why actors don't use their name on their social media. It drives me crazy.
Some of them do.
Some of them do. Lots of them don't. Cat Lover 47. I'm like, who is it?
Cat 47, is that funny? Yeah.
The audio?
Oh, they're all here.
No, my audio cut out. Sorry.
Everybody's here.
Gotcha. Okay.
Y'all look really comfortable, man. I want to come snuggle.
Oh, snuggled up.
This is not fair. You're too comfortable. No, I'm just kidding. So Gena, is there anything else you want to say? I mean, well, the rest of us, I know you want to leave early, so you can go if you want. But when we'll do a return show after the movie comes out, maybe in November. Maybe you could join then if you're available.
Yeah, I would love to.
Obviously, we can't plan that far ahead, but let's aim for one. It'd be nice following the movie's release. So yeah, what date is it coming out on October again? It's October, right?
28th.
28th. Oh, great.
Right
Halloween weekend.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And that's a Thursday. That would be like Friday, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow, we got okay. Oh, that's great. That's perfect. Okay, cool. Okay, Gena, it was a pleasure having you. I'm gonna let you go.
And before she takes off, I will follow with she was a beautiful partner to have opposite of, and super easy to play wifey and fall in love with. So I appreciate Gena for all that too.
Likewise. Dean was awesome. Best set, hubby.
Take care, Gena.
Thank you, Alexis. Bye. Thank you, Gabe.
Pleasure having you on, of course. Take care.
Ciao. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Gena.
How do I get out of here?
I got you. Okay. So now I actually wanted to talk to each of you about some of your other roles, because I know we touch a lot upon Savannah Haunting. but I will go back to it before the end. So Mark, or not his roles, I know Alexis, you're producer, you're behind the scenes strictly. But Mark, you've done The Walking Dead. Was it the most recent season, or 11 or 10?
Yeah, I was in season 11. Mm-hmm.
Season 11. Are you? Do you? Can you say if you're because I know there was final episodes. Are you returning? What was your role? You were. Please
So
tell us a little bit.
I play a heroin manufacturer who tortures and rapes his employees, and basically is forced. He eventually is arrested for everything that he's doing, and but it was fun. It was it was a show that I'd watched and been a fan of, so it was kind of cool to be on set and play in that world, and I didn't die, which was always a win. So.
Yeah, and this was in, what was it, the new Community, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So is there a chance you might return, or you can't say?
There's always a chance.
There's always a chance. Okay,
I didn't die. So,
yeah. Well, that's usually the rule of horror films. If you don't see the person die, they're usually not dead.
And hell, the horror film, even if they do die, they might come back.
Yeah, true. That's horror. Well, the supernatural horror, at least for the most part. Yeah. Hold on, my friend CJ says, Dean looks like he's shooting a scene now. When you stay camera ready, you ain't got to get camera ready.
That's right.
Well, he's got the room is like, you got the whole UV or LED lights, whichever ones those are. Yeah. So, and Dean, tell us a little bit about some of the other work you've done, if you want to.
Sure. Last thing I have was The Hunt that came through. That was an HBO, and that was one of the ones that that Trump said everyone was shooting people. So it got pushed for a while. Then it finally got released, and then COVID hit, so it didn't stay very long in theaters. Then it hit HBO. I'm not sure what TV I've done since then. I'm one of those actors that really forgets his resume as soon as it's done, and tries not to remember. I have a 2-year-old, so I haven't seen a show outside of like a list of Peppa Pigs to
well, what was it?
In
it's
probably
funny.
3 years.
You did the Starving Games, I believe.
Starving Games, yeah.
And I actually met at an event my friend was signing at, Mayara. I always forget it. Yeah. And it's funny, my friend Steve Coulter, who I know through Lynn Shay from the Insidious films, was in The Hunt.
Yeah, Steve's great.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And he's now in She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's small.
Yeah, I would always mess with Steve throughout the whole film because I would always call him Gramps. And we would just make fun of each other, and yeah, a lot of Blippy, man. So every time we would start a new thing, I would holler at Steve, come on, let's do it.
I should have told him to come on tonight. I should have messaged him. I totally forgot, but I'll send this his way. Yeah. And Alexis, so you've what was it? You did visual effects on, was it Fast 5?
Mm-hmm.
And another big film, I forgot which.
Yeah, so I had a visual effects company for years, and it's still around, but my priorities have obviously been, Fort Argyle Films, which is my company with Mark, and we produce projects, and so I came from the visual effects side of things. We did music videos, Britney Spears, Katy Perry, commercials, features. Yeah, like Zombievers was like one of the funny horror ones we did.
Zombievers.
Zombievers. We worked on the collection. So yeah, it's like I know. Oh yeah, we did Deadliest Warrior, and that was the most blood I've ever seen in my whole life. We would be doing, it could be 30 to 100 blood shots, in one episode. So yeah, I know the horror world, as far as post-production goes, very well. So for us, we wanted to make sure that when we were shooting a Savannah Haunting, we were really smart about how we did things, because our budget was limited and we had to, be smart about resources. So I brought on, my favorite visual effects supervisor. His name is Aurelio Vera, and he's just a brilliant guy. He's a really high-end compositor. So, he brought on his team, which were all girls. We had
women.
Of women. It was all women. But yeah, we had a female visual effects team, and Aurelio. But yeah, we had fun with it. This wasn't the kind of movie where we wanted to have big, scary monsters, coming out. It was more of a slow dread based film, but we do have a lot of visual effects that you don't notice. We call those invisible effects. It's things that are in there, but you don't necessarily know it's a visual effect. And then there are definitely things that you'll see that are obviously visual effects. In the trailer, in the trailer alone, we didn't actually burn down the plantation. Right. So you see that.
Let me just interrupt real quick because she's way too humble to say all this. So I met Alexis at UCLA, and she was a freshman, and we did a short film together, student film, and we were the rainmakers. So we were outside the window with a hose spraying water on the window. And I remember thinking to myself, this girl is smart and driven. And so I just latched on her coattails right then and there and didn't let go. And I watched her through her career. I watched her just every weekend doing student films and learning and growing while her friends were out partying every weekend. I watched her getting better and better and better. And I watched her graduate and start working and kicking ass. And I watched her quit her job, start a company, competing with her former employer, steal their top VFX supervisor, start a company, and take their biggest client. And I started doing that all the way up. And I saw her get nominated for an Emmy at age 24, I think it was. So for me, it's been fun to just kind of watch her progression and watching her just kicking ass on a wide scale. And I get to benefit from that by being close to her. But yeah, she is an absolute just phenom. There's so much energy and power and talent poured into this little tiny container. It's pretty amazing to watch. And, I remind everyone when this film or anything we work on comes up, she is the secret ingredient. She's like the God particle in the universe that holds shit together. It is her. I might have a couple little thoughts I throw in here and there, but she's the force that really keeps things going. And, she would never say that stuff because she's humble. But, when we were doing the script, I don't know anything about VFX. I mean, I know what I like, but I don't know the details of it, right? So I'd write a scene and I would send it to her and she would look at it and say, this could be much more ostentatious for our budget, or, hey, this is way too much. You need to tone this down. You need to, whatever it may be. So that when the script was done, we, as an independent film, we went into our budgeting process knowing exactly what VFX and post-production is going to cost, which that is almost unheard of on low-budget feature films because they have no idea. We did have an idea because she told us. And so we were able to deliver this movie, on budget and make it look damn good. There may be people, I'm sure there'll be people watch the movie and go, that's not my cup of tea. But nobody can watch this movie and say, that doesn't look good, right? It looks good. And a huge part of that, I mean, Paul Marshall was a huge part of that. Or, we had a lot of wonderful crew members who certainly went into their talent and their hard work made the film look great. But a huge part of what makes it look great is Alexis and her knowledge of VFX and the team she brought together. And like she was mentioning the invisible effects, like one of my favorite scenes in the movie, I guarantee you less than 1% of the population will know that it's a VFX shot. But it was an extraordinarily difficult VFX shot. But it's seamless, and it looks practical.
Seamless transition, almost, yeah.
Seamless, and it is. I'm sitting there watching the theaters. We're going to the festival, and I'm so thrilled about this one shot because I know how much work and how many people, but no one else gets it. They're like, oh, that's cool. They got to move on.
And for a mirror, there's your hint. Look for a mirror at the end of the film. Towards the end.
It involves a mirror that's really cool. But in any event, Alexis really, her expertise. There's a lot of producers I've met in the world, and a lot of them are very talented. But and sometimes people like to make that hard distinction between director and producer. That was not our case. From the very beginning, from the script moving forward, it's been a team effort. We go back and forth. I mean, literally every email we send, we go back and forth on it's a team, right? And so, I think some people, when they see those titles, they think, oh, you did this. But she was as intricately involved in the creative of this movie as any director usually would be. You know what I mean? Like she all throughout. So I think it's very often like when you look at the credits or you see a press release, that isn't reflected, and it should be, because like she is literally half of everything that gets done in this movie is on her shoulders, at least half, probably.
She's the drive. She's the drive.
Absolutely.
And on
She's
set
the brains and the
functionality.
beauty behind the situation. So me
Yeah.
and Dean are kind of along for the ride. So.
We just brought our beards and we're like, we'll do what you need us to do.
Exactly. Yes,
And
ma'am.
on set functionality, you would never know by seeing her on set, but there's no way she slept that whole film, because she was nonstop. Every morning she was there doing. I'm like, did she go to bed at all? Did she sleep? But nonstop.
I'm dying to ask Alexis, how is your back feeling from carrying the production?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sore from carrying a small human around too. Yeah. Yeah, no, it was an incredible experience. Yeah, I mean, Mark and I worked together for so long, and like we really, I think for us, we bring. Thank you for everything you said. It's really sweet. We bring very different things to the table, you know. So like he's really, you know, an actor's director because he's worked on so many films and TV shows. I mean, he's done like, I don't know how many, like 600 projects by now, Mark. 600.
The low budget ones make it feel like that.
It feels like that. It's been like 6 years, like from the beginning, you know, and then, you know, it just at a certain point hit. I think that's kind of when I think our thing, you know, our project for Savannah Haunting, we call it Ash for short, but it started kind of building and building. We're getting a little closer and closer. And then, you know, Mark booked a huge movie, you know, starring with Tome Cruise. So
American Made, right?
Yeah, you know, and so his acting career started taking off. And I think, you know, with that happening at the same time, you know, and us, like, we're like, okay, now is the time, you know, and so things started, you know, piecing together, you know, over that time, and the movie came to be.
That's amazing. Actually, CJ, I just want to bring up, CJ said, thanks for the advice. It's good to know firsthand experience. Stay close to people, to movie people if you want to do movies. I honestly, I think that really does. It really speaks for itself. And I also, you said something, Mark, that really I couldn't agree with more. And I wish more, not just people in the film industry, but audiences felt this way, that you could watch something you don't like or not a fan of and still acknowledge, oh, great cinematography, great acting, great performance, great writing, great storytelling, great set design. It's just because you don't like them, or I could watch something I love and still acknowledge, oh, there's a flaw, there's a continuity issue, but it doesn't take away from everything around it. And I love when people could watch something, even something they dislike, and still acknowledge, oh, that was done beautifully. That was, you know, a lot of audiences, it's so black and white. Right. No pun intended, you know, black and white. From
I mean, I'm a car guy, right? And I'm not a Mustang fan, but I can look at a 67 Mustang and appreciate the effort and the time that went into renovating one. Even though it's aesthetically not my thing, I can still appreciate it, you know. And there's plenty of movies that I look at and I go, it's not my cup of tea. But number one, and Dean also, I don't know if you know, Dean's also a filmmaker as well. You should talk about that, Dean. But as a filmmaker, I know how hard it is to make a short film that's 3 minutes long, right? I know the blood and sweat and tears and pain that people go through. So generally speaking, I watch movies from a place of love, right? Because it's just like, even if no one sets out to make a bad movie ever. I mean, no one says, let's go make a crappy movie. It's really hard to make a good movie. Like, there's so many moving parts and so many things out of your hands that in some ways for a good movie to be made, it's almost like a congruence of a lot of different things that kind of worked out, you know, favorably. Because if one little tiny thing is wrong, if one person drops the ball on the team, your movie's damaged by that. Maybe not to a point that can't be saved, but it's going to be damaged. Bye, darling. And but yeah, so it is one of those things that I hope people watch our movie, and even if it's not their thing, they can see the love and the passion that a lot of people put into it. So
I believe Bialystok and Bloom did make a theatrical performance with the intent of having it crash, but that was a Mel Brooks story, so they're not real characters. Anyway, sorry, Dean. So you're also a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Please, can you give us a little insight?
Sure. So the last one we have out is called In Trip. That was in the horror genre as well. Kind of the And we haven't really brought this up in this film as well, but both of them, I think, really affect this current world we deal with, which is a lot of mental health stuff going on. And to me, this film it reminds me of that as well. As there was so much going through this script. It's so much about the mental health and just the mental struggle that they're going through. The same as in Trip, it's an interesting movie about an Uber driver, or U-Ride driver is what we call it in the movie. And I don't want to give too much away because it's a lot of twists and turns on the movie, but basically there's not a very sane human being making his way through the world, trying on different hats. And I'll say that. But if you get a chance, it's a really fun little movie.
Where can we catch it?
It's most places besides Netflix, Tubi, all the way to
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime.
Was it? How do you spell it? End Trip.
End Trip.
Okay, gotcha. That's ENDTRIP.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna. Yeah, I like those type of. I don't know. The way you described it make me think of Bone Collector meets Memento, and meets like a few others films, but like just the way you described it. Yeah.
It's funny when you watch it, there's a lot of stuff that goes in together with the show You that came out.
Right.
And we did this before You was even a thing. But down to like character names and even wardrobe was so similar that my producer was texting me as he watching the show, like, and I'm like, I got nothing, man. All I can say is I guess we made something worth it, obviously, if they're doing stuff that was very similar to what we did, right?
You know what's interesting, Dean, is I've always thought you reminded me of the lead actor from You.
I also
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that a few times.
It's funny you said that you did it before You, and they were very similar because I took when I was in college, I took a disaster film class, and learning about Independence Day and Mars Attacks, how Mars Attacks was made before, was supposed to be released before, and Independence Day came out, it was Mars Attacks was made or written or made before, and then Independence Day came out first, and Mars Attacks sort of tanked in comparison because everybody thought it was an immediate satire, even though Mars Attacks was written and or filmed prior to Independence Day. And it was like, it made me think, as soon as you said that, it makes me think of that situation.
Well, we had a situation where, Savannah Haunting was written in 2013. It just took us a long time to get the money to make it. And there were multiple films and TV shows that came out that had some element of the movie would be in there. And like Alexis and I would kind of message back and forth. There was no one particular project that had all the elements. And, and some of it is classic haunted house, tropes that you're going to see. But there were some things that were really, really specific that I'm sure people are going to watch the movie and think, oh, they got that from this show, or they got that from this movie. And the script was written before those projects ever came out. There's even, I won't give away what this is from, but there's a very important character in our movie that used to have a very, very unique name. And a major horror film came out with that exact same unique name. And we had to change our character's name because of it. Like literally, production companies were reaching out going, you can't copy this name. And we're like, we didn't. Like this was written before that movie got made. So it's interesting how I think there's like a shared
the zeitgeist, the consciousness. Yeah, it's all there.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of, we're all connected on some level.
We had a different name for In Trip originally. And I think a movie named Ride came out that was right before that. And that same
what year was this?
In Trip was in 2018.
18, right? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Released in 2018. Yeah.
Right. I'm thinking Ride. I was thinking Drive, but Drive with Ryan Gosling, Bryan Cranston was much earlier.
Yeah. Different one.
Yeah. Actually, Mark, it's what was it? It's funny you say. I was thinking about that because I'm a big fan of James Wan, and I remember watching the Conjuring films, and what he does with it's the way he shoots along with the scares. So there's almost like loopholes around doing, like, obviously, I don't know whether you wrote it first or they filmed it whether was theirs was later or not. Like if you didn't film it, but like the way you could go around is the way you film it, the way you shoot it, the camera direction, like, there's always ways to try to make it as much as you're original with that, make it appear different than the others. Don't mean to give you a lecture about it. I'm just saying, like, I'm just thinking coming to mind, because some of the camera work that James Wan does, even just like a person running through a hallway, just the way he shoots it from like a different point of view. Like, I remember, what's her name, Vera Farmiga, she's running out of the like, you think it looks like she's running on the ceiling, and basically she's coming out of the basement and running out the front door, which is like just going like turning and going straight. So what he did was he had the camera off a ledge on the top floor, like a balcony, and just looked like she was running upside down, and then it tilts, and then it goes, just as simple as it is, but it stands out. It's almost like puns. Like, I'm big on puns, and Alfred Hitchcock did say puns are the most sophisticated form of literature, because they're so silly, but they require, like, they're intelligent, as simple as they are. Some of the greatest things come from such a simple idea. Like, right. You look on, like, Shark Week, I'm sure you've watched, and not Shark Week, sorry, Shark Tank, and people pitch things like, how did nobody think of this before? Like the Michael Myers and Mike Myers jokes, or the camera on the doorbell. Like, these are such simple concepts that it's developing them, it's implementing them, and that's what makes them great. Not just the idea, but developing them and transforming them.
It's kind of like Mark was saying, it's that consciousness that we all, there's 1,000 people in the universe that have this brilliant idea, but someone goes forward and the other 999 go, that'd be neat.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if that happens to you, Dean, but probably 3 times a month, I get an email or a text from someone saying, I've got a great idea for a movie.
God, will you read it all? No.
Yeah. And when you make it, yeah, it's like, there's lots of great ideas for movies. That's the easy part.
I don't want to read the whole thing and tell you exactly what movie you got that from the day before you were really drunk and then told me this movie that you just watched and didn't remember that you just watched that movie.
So CJ was really loved this. He said, thanks for all the advice. Great show. Thank you for coming on the show. I'm going to check out the flick. You all have a good night. Very exciting. Before we go, can you all, any of your websites, socials, any that you could, anybody, in case anybody wants to follow, or
Savannah Haunting. So Savannah Haunting has a Facebook, we have an Instagram, and we're going to be on TikTok very, very, very soon. It's all just a Savannah Haunting for everything.
And do you have Alexis? Do you have any personal you want to?
Yeah, that's Alexis Michelle Nelson. Alexis and Michelle is Michelle Michelle, Michelle Nelson. That's on Instagram. So that would be a good way to just kind of get news. I post, a lot of like personal things, and then if we're on running around for adventures with filmmaking, or we're on our festival tour, that kind of stuff. We'll put little bits from there, and then
little daughter photos every once in a while.
Yeah, and then this kid who woke up and then is now crashed out here, but she's on there occasionally too.
Well, I've also seen you post like red carpet, from premieres and interviews. I've seen, with Mark as well. And so Mark, how about you?
For Instagram, it's W Mark McCullough. I think it's the same for Facebook. If you just Google my name, stuff will pop. I post a lot of work-related stuff. I don't really, I don't have any kids or pets. So I don't have a whole lot of private stuff to post about. People often ask me and Alexis what our hobbies are, and I'm like, a what? What is a hobby? What is?
Mark is one of the hardest working men I know.
He's a hustler.
Well, thank you, but yeah. So W Mark McCullough. But really, I'd say over the next couple of months, Savannah Haunting would be much more fun to follow than my personal page. So,
gotcha. Dean.
TheDeanWest.com, and then Instagram and all the other ones are all at The Dean West. Mine is a mixture of filmmaking. I'm also an acting coach, like Mark as well. So I love the philosophy of what goes into us and what we do as actors versus this human nature stuff we deal with. So I post a lot of kind of that philosophy mix, and Also have a little 2-year-old, so that ends up a good portion of mine because I have no choice. She's gonna be a part of everything, whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not.
Whether I like it or not. And we just started a little YouTube channel for Wifey. If you go to the Michelle West, it's called With the Wests, and it's just our ridiculousness because we're entertaining to each other. I don't know if anybody else will find it that way, but you know.
Is there a website for Savannah Haunting, and is there like, or should we, or are all the updates strictly on the Savannah Haunting social media pages?
Yeah, social media. Our website is it's just very simple, and it goes to IMDb. So you know, we do have a collection of news articles and things there, but I mean, really, yeah, like our Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Like if you're on our Instagram or Facebook, like you know, when there's new press releases, articles, all that kind of stuff ends up on there. You know, we're going to start, there's going to be a lot of content on there very soon as we get closer to the release date. So October 28th, we're going to be building all of our cast. Like you know, we're all kind of on the same page as far as what we're going to start posting. There's going to be a lot of fun behind the scenes clips. There's things that I didn't even know existed that Dean sent me this secret album of footage and pictures. And there's some totally hilarious, ridiculous stuff of, you know, everybody behind the scenes of the cast. And yeah, so that will start coming out very soon.
So you're gonna have like a director's diary type of thing.
Dear diary, COVID sucks.
No, a video diary, like from behind the scenes special features type of clips. That's you know. Okay, great. Now I just want to tell everybody watching and you guys that this will be you could, if you want to send this to anybody, this video, or if you want to watch it, or if you missed part of it or want to see the rest of it or whatever it is, it's going to be I'll send you guys the link individually if you want. It's going to be available on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. You can basically rewatch this, or if you want to send it to somebody, I'll send you the link. So in case anybody who missed it or missed part of it, if you want to send it to them. But thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to see the film. I will be following for any updates regarding the film. And thank you so much for coming on. I'm sorry Gena and Brittney had to leave early, but I'm glad they were able to make it. Hopefully we could do a reunion, like a follow-up reunion show after the movie. Hopefully if anybody else from the cast is able to join, that'd be great. In addition, of course, I could fit up to 9 people on here. We only had 6 tonight, so I could fit up to another 3 at 9 at a time. So yeah, and guys, thank you so much, and have a great night. And I'll be in touch with you, Alexis and Mark, when I'm in LA, or Alexis. But and pleasure. Guys, have a great night. Thank you for everything.
Thanks.
Of course.
Seeing you, Dean.
Of course.
Pleasure,
Take care,
guys. Bye,
guys.
guys.
Be well.